guys, back to this Sewing with Baby series, how I've been doing this for the last 4 years, watching the kiddos mainly by myself and making all these garments. We've got life going on in the background, so I don't mind the noises, but I wanted to talk about budget. It's definitely something you have to consider in this hobby. You can spend as much money, I mean it can go up and up and up and up, so it's something you need to be cautious about. We all have our own budgets and you know, lifestyles and whatever, and I don't want to make anyone feel poorly on this topic. I just want to help address it. So first off, you've got to figure out how much money you're able to spend towards this. I want to call it a hobby, but really it's a love, it's a creative outlet, it's an expression of yourself, it's memories, it's your legacy, but let's just sum it all up on the word hobby, shall we? And so you want to see how much money, you know, you can devote to this hobby, and then how many garments you want to make, and basically from there is a simple, you know, division problem. That you've got a certain amount of money, and basically if you spend that over more garments, then you know it's less money per garment. Whereas if you want to, like, I want to just do this huge, you know, lace work and have this and that, and I won't be able to do, you know, 10 garments this year, but I will have this one. And so you have to decide what your priorities are. There is no right and wrong. It is sewing. You do you. All of that goodness. I really truly mean that when I say that. So that's for the first discussion, is you kind of need to pick. I don't want to say quantity over quality, because there's definitely quality to having what I like to call ready-made garments. This is your novel garments that don't take as long as, you know, the lace and the hand embroidery and all that sort of stuff, but they are still a great piece to have, and it's still a memory you can make, and there's nothing wrong with it. So like I said, I don't want to make anybody feel badly, because not every garment can be dripping with lace, at least for most of us, right? So you've got to decide on that, and it doesn't need to necessarily be all novelty or all, you know, heirloom quality. So personally for me, what I like to do, and this has been a progression, right? When Audrey was first born, I was like, it's her 3rd day of life, she needs a new outfit. Now it's her 4th day and her 5th day, she needs a new outfit, and I was like obsessed about it. Now that I'm a mother of 3, that is, I've come into like a rhythm, and what I've come into is I have a newborn outfit. Maybe I'll have, you know, I'll have at least one. Maybe I have 2 or 3 of these newborn gowns. Old Fashioned Baby has a number of great patterns for this, but I have some flavor of a newborn gown for photos. Some people like to call this a take-home garment. I don't use it as a take-home garment because the car seat sort of ruins it, and they're still all balled up anyways. I like it just for those first photos. But so I do a newborn thing, then I like to do 1 garment per month. So that's their monthly photos as their month switches over, as they become a 1-month-old or 2-month-old or whatever. I put them in the garment, I take some photos of them, just to kind of capture where they are and how they look and all that sort of stuff, just to document it for those memories. And then, so in addition to the newborn garment and those monthly garments, and I do the monthly garments, you know, ages, I guess, 1 month through 12 months. In addition to those, what I found that fits into my routine well is Easter. Sorry, first let's start from the beginning. Valentine's Day, then Easter, then 4th of July. Sometimes I do Thanksgiving, I do Christmas, and then I do their birthday wherever their birthday happens to fit in, you know, throughout the year. So those are the things that I do. Generally speaking, I will do Easter and Christmas and their birthday more on the fancier side, and then Easter, 4th of July, sometimes Thanksgiving on the more novelty side. But it's sewing, so you do you, and that's somewhere where you can maybe, if you still want to do like a Valentine's Day garment, because they're so sweet and so much fun, but you don't want to spend an arm and a leg, understandably, you do something that's more novelty, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's still fun, and you put your baby and get some cute photos, and you have a fun little time at it, right? So some budget-friendly options would be Imperial Batiste. I've mentioned this a number of times. It is wonderful quality. It's a polyester cotton blend, so it doesn't require as much ironing. It's, you know, wrinkle resistant. It still will wrinkle, but it's wrinkle resistant. So you could pair this with a more expensive thing, right? If you wanted to like dip your toe into some Liberty, you could buy half a yard of Liberty from Farmhouse, and you could do that for a bodice for one bubble, a bodice for another dress, whatever, and then the skirts of that, or the bottom pieces, right, the bottom of the bubble or the skirt of the dress, whatever, the bottom of a diaper shirt, whatever it is, you kind of get my drift, you could use Imperial Batiste then, and now you've got a more affordable option, and then you can get several different bodices or yoke pieces out of half a yard of Liberty, especially at the baby age, and then pair it with Imperial Batiste on the bottom, and you know, it becomes cost friendly again. So another way to save is to buy bulk mother of pearl buttons. And now these are going to be more on the plain side. They're not going to have stuff necessarily engraved into them, but they are still wonderful quality. I love mother of pearl, especially for the heirloom quality things, and even the ready-made. It's just a wonderful button. I also like covered buttons a lot, but mother of pearl, Farmhouse will sell these for, you know, 50 of them in a little bag, or like 100 of them for, you know, $5, $10, $15, and it's a huge savings, and yeah, it's just like one less thing. The other thing, if you want to kind of dress things up a little bit, I got my notes here that I'm remembering stuff on. You want to dress things up a little bit without spending an arm and a leg. Lace tape is lovely. It sells for $2.35 a yard. And there's also some more affordable French lace that's, you know, $3 a yard and under. So look in that category and you know, peek your eye out for the prices. Now, there's a lace called, I might mispronounce this, I probably will because I'm wonderful at mispronouncing things, but it's called Clutny Lace, and it is more on the more affordable side, and also entree is around $3 a yard, and that dresses up anything. You put entree in between like a yoke and a sleeve and that seam, or in between like where the yoke ends and your skirt begins, and it just looks magical, right? People who have no idea how you did that, and it sparkles at you and it really dresses it up, and it's wonderful. Another thing you can do if you are on the budget, trying to keep things budget friendly, but you want to kind of elevate your work, is fabric manipulations. So these are things like smocking, and you can pleat by hand if you don't have a pleater yet. You can do pin tucks via a twin needle. A twin needle is going to be like $4, $5 to buy, and you can get a bunch of use out of that. Puffing, a bunch of different fabric manipulations. I have another video that I will link down below on kind of free or low cost things you can do to spice things up. Another thing you can do that's a very low cost, but it is more time, is hand embroidery. Now you can just sprinkle a little bit of hand embroidery on that yoke or bodice, and it just jazzes things up, and it's not too much time. You know, it might be like 30 minutes to an hour. Or you can go full ham, how I've done on a number of outfits, and it is several hours. But to do this, you'll have to have DMC floss or floche, cotton embroider, pearl cotton, things of that nature. And these things are not a huge arm and a leg, with the exception of floche. If you want a bunch of colors in floche, you're going to be spending a pretty penny up front, but it will last you a long time. There is a lot of material in that skein. It's not called a skein, I think it's called a hank, but you get my drift. Drawn thread is also a great way to up your garments and have it be super affordable, because all it is thread. Whether you're using like Madeira thread, you know, the 80 weight thread, or you're spicing it up with a little bit of color, like a little bit of DMC floss in there, it is super affordable. The other thing is, do not buy every pattern. I know a lot of pattern companies are going to be mad at me right now, and I don't want to sound hypocritical. I do have some patterns of mine in the works, but when I say don't buy every pattern, what I mean is don't have 10 different bubble patterns. You need one that you like. Don't have 10 different bodice dresses. You need one that you like. And even then, if you've got a bubble pattern, particularly if you're new to this, it is much easier to go from a bubble to a dress, and I've shown this in a number of my videos. You can take, for example, CC Jamie. I know you're waiting for me to say if you're been around here for a little bit, but you can take CC Jamie and take that yoke piece or take that bodice piece and make a dress out of it, or make a shorter dress, which is a diaper shirt, and you can get a number of looks. So try to be smart with your patterns and do not buy everyone under the sun, because then you'll have more money to put towards garments, which is the name of the game. The name of the game is not to have, at least in my opinion, it's not to have gobs and gobs of patterns, it's to have garments. That's where your memories are. So then another thing that you might not, before I move on, look out for PDF patterns. There's a number of companies, it's kind of, I guess, where things are going with PDF patterns. They're a little bit cumbersome to put together, but you can save a bit on shipping if you're international, and just on cost even if you're here in the States. So look out for that. Another thing that you may not think about is just use white thread. So what I will do for these garments that I've been doing for the last 4 years, with very few exceptions, is I just use white thread. I will vary the type of thread that I use depending on what I'm doing and what I'm working with. So I'll bounce between like a polyester thread when I want more strength. Then I'll go to the DMC 50 weight cotton thread when I'm doing heirloom construction and I don't want as much strength. And then I will go to the Madeira 80 weight / the Orofil. Orofil's been coming into the game lately. But those are the 3 types that I have. I have a polyester for a lot of strength for like the novelty stuff. I've got a kind of a medium weight, whatever, DMC 50 weight cotton thread for the heirloom construction. And then I've got the 3rd finer weight cotton thread for lace work and things of that nature, pinholes, things like that, pin stitching. So for the majority of that I used white thread, and you really can't tell. I mean, I'll construct, navy velvet together, and on all the construction you can't see it. You can see it on the inside, but not on the outside, with the exception of top stitching. Now if you're top stitching up a pastel, you'll be pleasantly surprised with how well that blends in. If you're just like top stitching over a pastel pink or yellow or whatever, y'all know the pastel colors, and you have a white thread, it really does quite well. And then you don't have to buy all of these threads and store them someplace and have all the bobbins that go with it, and then your toddler's got that bobbin across the floor, and so now you got to rewind that one. It just helps simplify things. So the last thing we need to talk about when we talk about money are photos, and I think photos are important. And I also think that everyone's capable of being their family photographer. That's not to say that you're going to go into business, you're going to become a professional photographer, but photography 101 is not that difficult. So I think you should do some research, get some education. It's not all about having the right gear and that it magically works for you. You do need to know how to use it. Like I said, photography 101 is not that difficult. You're looking for things like shade, and you need to know things about aperture and how to control your lighting and things like that, your angles and rules of thirds, but it's really not that hard. So you do need to invest into some nice equipment. Now, like I said in the beginning of this video, I don't want to make anybody feel badly. So in photography land, there's a saying that, the best gear that you have is the one at your fingertips. So that being said, if my kids are doing something cute in the kitchen, even though I have all those gobs of fancy equipment, if they're doing something cute in the kitchen and my cell phone is right there, I'm going to grab my cell phone and try to capture it with that, because that's the equipment that I have at my fingertips, and I know if I walk across the house to grab my fancy camera and capture it, they're going to be done. So you use what you have at your disposal. So if you can't afford a nice camera, then please don't feel badly. But if you have, and I've got some prices here, so it is better, like I said, do a little bit of camera research, but you will find that it's better to have a nicer lens than a nicer body. Like, throw out the kit lenses, they are worthless. If I can say that nicely, they are worthless. And so for around $500, and yes, that is a pretty penny, but if you spend $500 and then you have the camera for, several years of your child's life, and you're able to get more photos and more memories and all of that, I personally think it's money well worth it. Like I said, if it's not on your budget, please don't feel bad. Grab your cell phone and use what you have because it's better than nothing. But right now, the Canon Rebels are about $350 on Amazon. And like I said, don't use a kit lens. I would recommend, if you're just starting out, to use what we call, I'm a photographer, what the photographers call a nifty 50, which is a 50mm lens. It's a prime lens, so it does less. Does it better, that sort of thing. And it's a 1.8 aperture, and it's $125 on Amazon. It's actually the lens that I'm using. No, I'm using the 1.4. The 1.8 I've heard is a little bit not as good as a build quality as the 1.4. The 1.4, I think I spent around $200, $300 on this lens that I'm using right now to film. But it's a great lens. Just keep it out of the reach of your toddler. Not that you'd give these lenses to your toddler anyways. But like I said, once you invest in it, then you can have more photos for cheaper than it would be to hire a photographer. And maybe, one garment in particular is really special to you and you don't feel like you can capture it as well as you want to, so you hire a photographer and for that one particular garment. But you'll find that you'll just use the nice camera with your knowledge. You use it more on a day-to-day basis, and you'll get more photos of your little one, and they grow up so fast and you just want to capture the memories. So I hope that is helpful. I have other videos in this in this mama series that we got going on, how to sew with little ones. I hope I've answered everyone's questions. If I haven't, put them down in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them. And as always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and I hope to catch y'all next time.